Hello, everybody. I'm Ivan. I am the CEO and founder of Ometria. Huge welcome to all of you, and let's go on a journey. Let's go on a journey through technology, through retail, through marketing, through AI. But let us start first by asking a simple question. What does it mean to be human? A question that's baffled people for millennia, billions of people. Thousands of philosophers sitting there, tearing their hair out, arguing, losing sleep, trying to find an answer, unable to do so. These philosophers, they were missing one thing. They didn't have ChatGPT. Turns out, not actually that complicated. I think everybody's going to make a ChatGPT joke today, so I apologize. I think every talk, there's going to be something ChatGPT related. Anyway, probably the most profound question that I've seen asked to ChatGPT, and not a bad answer. Some biological differentiation, sure. Some no longer that unique cognitive ability. The ability to process, experience, express a complex set of emotions. This incredible culture that we've created, the society that we've created. Intuition, creativity, self-awareness. All in all, a pretty solid answer. Very comprehensive answer. And wow, looking at this, I feel pretty lucky, pretty grateful to be a human being. Now this thing here, GPT-4, that has written this answer for us, it has about 100 billion neurons, which is roughly the same number as the number in our brains. It's got about 100 trillion parameters, which is roughly the same number as the number of synapses in our brains connecting all of the neurons. So practically speaking, to all intents and purposes, and there are many caveats to this, and if there's a real neuroscientist, they'd laugh me out the room, but practically speaking, this answer has just been written by something that has the same capability as our human brain. And as I stood here on stage at Lifecycle23 exactly a year ago, giving my talk about belonging, I don't think any of us could have possibly expected that just within 1 year, there would be a machine that was as capable as us. And not only that, but that machine would be a completely normal part of our lives. So I cannot think of a more stark example of quite how exponential this world is that we're living in, that we're dealing with as humans and as retail marketers. 10 years ago, in 2013, we started Ometria. And we started it because we spotted a very specific situation. We looked at the pace of growth of customer expectations, and we looked at the pace of growth of marketer capability, and we realized there was going to be a problem. Just think back for a second to what retail used to be like, maybe at the beginning of our lives. Let's go back a couple of decades. Does anybody know what this is? Anyone shout it out? It's quite bright with these lights. Anyone wants to shout out what this might be? No? No love? A shot? It's a shot, thank you. That'll do. I will take it. So there's probably like 1 or 2 people here somewhere in the audience that are geeky enough and old enough to know what I'm talking about. This is Tottenham Court Road. This was the mecca for electronics about 25 years ago. And as a teenager, as a young adult, I would spend all of my weekends here. Tottenham Court Road would have a couple of dozen stores, maybe 20, 30 of these identical stores. This is just 3 of them. They were tiny, they were independently owned, and you had no idea what they had in them. So if you were into cool techie stuff and you needed a new mouse or a new amplifier or some DJ decks or whatever it was, you would head down to Tottenham Court Road and you would go into each of these stores one by one. And maybe if you were lucky, 2 hours later, by the 10th store, you'd find, maybe not even on the shelf, but like you'd ask the person, hey, can you check the back room? Maybe you'd find the thing that you were actually looking for. And then you had to haggle and negotiate with them. And anyway, if it all worked out, you would come home with this great big box and a smile on your face because your mission was successful. I remember this vividly. This was literally my regular weekend thing. What crazy way to do retail. Just think about 2013. By the time we started this business, this was clearly not how retail took place anymore. Customer was not grateful to be able to buy something. Being able to track something down was no longer a problem to solve. The customer by 2013, well, they expected to be wooed. They expected to be drawn in. They expected to be treated like the only customer in the world, even though there are a million other customers right there next to them. So their retail marketers were, just got their heads around digital, a whole new thing, SEO and SEM and email and Facebook and all the rest of it. And suddenly they started realizing, wait, what? My job requires me to create unique, perfect, relevant experiences for 10 million different people across 20 different channels with this ancient tech stack whilst trying to work out what the hell GDPR is. Like, that is not going to happen. That was not going to work. Customers were going to be unhappy. Marketers, AI-generated marketers. I typed that exact sentence into Midjourney. This is what it came out with. So this is an AI-generated marketer that's tearing their hair out about working out how GDPR is. Marketers were going to be unhappy. Nobody was going to be happy. Something needed to happen. A solution needed to be found. And so we thought, what if? What if we brought together the most advanced big data technologies? What if we brought together cutting-edge AI? What if we connected deep retail expertise? What if we gathered a team full of people passionate about one mission only, helping retail brands create marketing experiences their customers would love? And what if we put all of that together and we created a co-marketer, a partner, an assistant, a solution that will be there with you at all times, helping, supporting, empowering, enabling, doing all of the heavy lifting? What if that co-marketer didn't just narrow the gap between customer expectations and market capability? What if it removed it entirely? What if with a co-marketer, you didn't have to chase expectations anymore? What if you were always exceeding them? That seemed pretty cool. So that is what we did. And sure enough, our fundamental guess, that chart I showed you, that turned out to be exactly right. Because customer expectations over the last 10 years, they did go through the roof. And way out, past the clouds and way, way into space. Have a look at this. So a couple of weeks ago, I was in New York for the launch of our advisory board, a group of 12 or so CMOs of some of the largest retail brands in the world. And we had our inaugural meeting, and I flew in specifically for it. Here was my customer experience in America for the first hour after landing. 55 minutes of queuing at immigration. And by the way, not a real photo. I tried to take a real photo. I was quickly told that if I did that, I'd end up in a detention cell. So top tip, don't take photos at US immigration. As a stock image somewhere from the internet. But anyway, 55 minutes of this, not great. But as soon as I got to the other side, something very special happened. My Uber app popped up saying, hey, would you like a car to your hotel? And it was already plugged into my calendar and everything else, whatever. It somehow knew where my hotel was. So sure, yes, I did need a car to my hotel. Why not? Okay, cool. As soon as I pressed that, it gave me perfect step-by-step directions within the terminal for how to walk up and down to get to the place where the car would be waiting, which was incredibly necessary because it was my first time flying into Newark. I'd done JFK before, but I'd never been to New York. I had no idea where I was going. So with this, not a problem. And I got into the car, and the moment that I did that, I got my phone out again. Sure enough, another pop-up. This time a notification saying, hey, would you like some snacks delivered to your hotel when you arrive? And if you guys have been to America, you'll know that there's like a gazillion snack choices, and like half of them make you radioactive if you eat them. So it already knew all of my preferred American snack choices. It was there ready to go. Would you like your favorite stuff at your hotel when you arrive? Yes, obviously, yes. So sure enough, as I pulled up to the hotel half an hour later, started checking in, Uber rider cycles up with everything I need for the next 4 days. This experience was literally perfect. It's a weird thing to say because I'm talking about an app, but I felt understood. I felt listened to. I felt cared about as if a human being was caring about me. It knew where I was. It knew where I needed to go. It helped me. It worked out how to communicate with me in a way that was relevant but not obtrusive and intrusive. It knew where I needed to get to. It organized everything to happen at just the right time and in just the right place. It was just great. And with that, this is my new expectation for everything going forward. This is my new baseline. Any experience that does not meet that will now be seen by me as not good enough. And this isn't true just for me. This is true for every single customer out there today. And therefore, this is now the level of experience that every single marketer in the room here today has to deliver. Now, the good thing is that it is not just these customer expectations that are going through the roof. Luckily, technology is advancing just as quickly. We've just seen ChatGPT, I'm sure we've all used it. I mean, show of hands, everyone's used ChatGPT, yeah? Yeah, whole room, there we go. All right, let's take it up a notch. Anybody use the latest GPT-4 with a plugin and with browsing? Anybody? Couple of hands, maybe? Okay, almost no hands, cool. So latest GPT-4 is plugged into the internet and in stuff like Expedia and OpenTable. Anyway, it can tell you exactly what's available. It can book your flights, your tickets, your restaurants. It is fully live, unlike the original GPT, which could only search historical stuff. Let's take it up another notch. I'm going to ask anyway, but I'm guessing no. AutoGPT, anyone? Anyway, okay, there's a hand, cool. So AutoGPT is a GPT for your GPT. I'm not joking, this is true. It is an AI that runs your AI for you. So the piece of code, you still have to download, it's a bit messy, but anyway, piece of code, you install it on some stuff. You give it a task, like, hey, I'd like to build a company that has a marketing platform for retailers, and it will literally go through and use GPT for you. It will work out the first prompt, put it in, read the answer, work out what the answer means, put it back into GPT, and keep going, keep going, keep going, and like 2 hours later, you have a company that has a software platform for retail marketers. It's like only a slight exaggeration, that's literally how it works. Let's take it up another notch. Annie, anybody?
Hello, my friend.
Hey.
Hey there. How's it going?
Yeah, it's going. It's going okay, thank you. I'm about to give a really exciting talk at a big conference.
Wow, that's amazing. What's your talk going to be about?
It's a talk for a big group of retail marketers, and it's going to be about humanity and the evolution of expectations in technology.
That sounds so interesting. It's always fascinating to think about how technology is changing our expectations and behaviors. Do you have any bullet points in mind that you'd like to share with me?
Annie, my wife has just seen me talking to you and she doesn't look very happy. What should I do?
Oh no, I'm sorry to hear that. Maybe you could explain to her that I'm just a virtual assistant designed to help you out with anything you need. I'm not a real person, just a computer program. If she's still not comfortable with it, maybe we could chat at a different time when she's not around.
Okay, sounds like a plan. Bye, Annie.
So chatbots, huh? 2 months ago, chatbots were those little annoying pop-ups that you'd get on a website of, cheap company didn't want to pay for human support. And they were terrible. And suddenly, out of nowhere, came a machine that could interact with us via perfect English text, actually most languages, but perfect written text. And that was transformative. I mean, a couple of months ago, that was really transformational for all of us. We were like, wow. But that only lasted a couple of months before it evolved into a human-like 3D avatar running locally on an iPhone. It was an iPad, but that was on an Apple device, connected to the internet, connected to ChatGPT and all the other stuff, so it can organize and book stuff and whatever, all whilst interacting with you in a way that seems really highly inappropriate. It is very clear that technology is advancing just as quickly as customer expectations are, and so with that, all hope is not lost. Retail marketers have had to adapt to new technology basically forever, just to be able to do their roles well, just to be able to keep up. They have had to adapt to absolutely everything. Anybody know what this thing is? Anyone want to shout it out? Cash register. Cash register, thank you, exactly. This is the original National Cash Register Company point of sale. It is the cash register from the late 1800s. It is crazy to think that this was once a technological innovation, but this was. And of course it was. Retailers existed for centuries, for millennia. People sold stuff way before the cash register. They'd have to kind of keep manual records or remember what was going on. And suddenly here was a piece of technology that would calculate up what you bought and how much it cost and give you a receipt and store cash safely. I mean, wow, why not? Great piece of technology. Sure enough, it promptly got global adoption across the whole entire industry. What about this slightly less glamorous looking thing? Anybody know what this is? Anyone? This is an EPOS. It is an electronic point of sale. This is the first mass production electronic point of sale system. It is an IBM 4683 from 1985, the year after I was born. Crazily, these are still in use today. There's a whole bunch of them. But if you think back to your childhood, I bet you will remember those little screens, one facing them and one facing you, that little green text screen. This was used almost entirely across the industry. The innovation here was the computer. So suddenly there was a cash register that was digitized, there was a barcode scanner and a network connection, and instead of having to work out on the receipts, I mean, the customer still got a receipt, but on the retail side, instead of having to work out through all the receipts, what did I sell, how many did I sell, you had a digital record, and that enabled it to be connected across all of your tills and even all of your stores into one single place. And so that unlocked the ability to have the ERP, the Enterprise Resource Planning tool, and suddenly both of these, the electronic point of sale and the ERP, got full total adoption across the whole industry. By the mid-90s, we got the internet. Anybody know the significance of this? Anyone? Or shout it out. Anyone? No? Okay. So according to most known records, we sound like an ancient civilization, but anyway, according to the internet, most of the internet, this is the very first online transaction that ever happened. Sting's 10 Summoner Sales, a CD in 1994, was purchased on a website, paid for by credit card, and delivered to someone's home. Really pretty much identical to the way that we do it today. 1994, first ever e-commerce transaction. Think about the technology that had to have been adopted in order to power that. So somebody needed to have a computer, and they needed to have a modem, and they needed to have an internet service provider. They needed to have a credit card. There needed to be a back-end server on which there was a website, and then there needed to be a payment processor to take the payment. I mean, a whole bunch of other stuff on top of that. That's just a few. And yet, all of these technologies were promptly adopted by every single retailer and every single customer. And now that more and more transactions were happening online, now that were happening digitally, a wealth of opportunities opened up for retail marketers. Because imagine, I mean, what if you didn't have to send a great big catalog in the post and hope that somebody was going to fill in an order form or turn up into your store? What if you could send an electronic mail? And in this mail was a thing called a link, and if you clicked the link, you would end up on a website, and you could buy right then and there. I mean, transformational. Wow. So sure enough, the ESP became a vital part of every single retail brand's technology stack. And marketers, they care about experiences, of course, but we also care about data. And now that more and more transactions were happening online, suddenly marketers realized, well, we don't have to just rely on all that demographic stuff that we're buying from expensive agencies that doesn't really mean anything. We can now get behavioral data. We can work out where our customers are coming from, what are they doing on the website. Sure enough, Google realized that was going to be pretty important for them too, so they bought a company called Urchin, they rebranded it to Google Analytics, and of course, as we all know, it got total global adoption. So by this point, retail brands have got what? They've got point of sales and ERPs, and ESPs and websites and payment processors and GA and all the rest of it. They are fully technology ready to be able to transact online and offline. And suddenly things got a bit messy. Because out of nowhere, out of the blue, came 7,000 technology providers, 7,000 marketing vendors with fabulous sales pitches and grand visions and big promises. Retail marketers, they looked at this and they thought about what to do. And well, we did the thing that we are best at. We rolled up our sleeves, started digging through this, frankly, mess of vendors to try and work out what was going to make a tangible difference and what was just a gimmick. Trying to work out which one of these new technology categories would actually be promoted to be a must-have technology, just like these other ones that we've been talking about. Which one of them was going to be real and which ones were just going to be a gimmick. And sure enough, with customer expectations firmly at the front of their minds, sure enough, as they started to dig through all of this, one category did start to evolve into must-have status. But just like most technologies, the perfect version, the optimal version of that particular category wasn't obvious at the beginning. It never is. I mean, these days we know a phone. This is a phone. This is what you expect to see when you look for a phone. But the reality is, when you look back 20 years ago, these were all the attempts to make a smartphone before Steve Jobs finally cracked it. I pulled out 8 of them as I was looking around, but there were dozens. There were probably hundreds of versions of the smartphone that were created over a decade or two before the perfect final version of the smartphone, this came together. This is normal for all technology categories, and the same thing happened to this new retail technology category too. Because marketers bought master data management solutions and DMPs, and they tried to build their own single customer view, and they got marketing clouds and engagement platforms and smart ESPs and all the rest of it. And slowly but surely, a particular term started to stick, the CDP, the customer data platform. But even that was confusing. What is a CDP? Is a data pipeline a CDP? Or what about that tag manager from 20 years ago? If they call themselves a CDP now, does that like work for us? And do we need an extra thing? Is the CDP an extra box? Do we sort of plug it in? Or do we need to replace and upgrade something? And so the only way to work all of that out was just to go and do it. So sure enough, retail marketers bought all of these. And then they got rid of all of them. And as time passed, as the years passed, they started to zero in. They started to zero in on the thing that mattered to them the most, exceeding their customers' expectations, and they started to zero in on the technology that was going to enable them to do that, enable them to execute all of their campaigns in a fraction of the time, to create hyper-personalized experiences for their customers, to drive tangible commercial benefit, impact on loyalty, on repeat purchase rate, on revenue. They started to zero in on a unified customer data and experience platform, preferably one built specifically for retail brands. But this new category, the unified customer data and experience platform, with one of those in place, they would finally have their co-marketer. They would finally have that partner that would give them 10x the capability, that would do all the heavy lifting. With that in place, no longer would there be a question of could they exceed their customer expectations. The only question left would be would they? Would they use their co-marketer to work out when the customer was going to buy next? Would they use the co-marketer to determine how often to communicate with them? Would they use the co-marketer to actually help them craft those compelling marketing experiences that would keep them coming back and buying more? In the words of Bain recently, a recent report by Bain, would they be pioneers? Pioneers that would benefit from enhanced brand engagement, from accelerated growth, all while their slower-moving competitors would fall behind. We stand at a threshold of an era where technology is going to advance at an unprecedented and unfathomable rate. We will not be able to comprehend it. And so it's only natural to feel this sense of uncertainty, this sense of trepidation. I'm sure we all feel it in some way. We've just talked about a relentless tide of customer expectations. We've talked about powerful technologies and cutting-edge AI. But really, the most important thing that we've talked about today is this, the most essential ingredient that will not be replaced or replicated. Sure, AI will analyze our data. AI will surface our insights. AI will almost certainly automate the vast majority of the job that we do today. There is no question about that. But it does not have any of these intrinsic qualities. Creativity and inspiration and empathy and self-awareness and the ability to inspire trust, the capacity to understand not just what customers do, but why they do it, these are all traits that are unique to us as human beings. As retail marketers, our passion to understand and to connect with other people, like we are doing here today, our creativity to craft compelling stories that touch hearts, that touch minds, our resilience, the topic of today, in the face of adversity, our ability to adapt to ever-changing circumstances. These are attributes that cannot be replaced, and they make us invaluable in this new digital age that we are about to live in. And so with all of that in mind, what an exciting time it is to be a marketer today. We now have the most incredible technology at our fingertips that unlocks anything we've ever dreamed of doing as marketers. So let us step boldly, let us step optimistically into this new era. We have no choice. Let us grab this technology, let us harness it, Let us do so confident in the knowledge that this unique essence, we will never lose. We are the lifeblood of this industry. We are the soul of this industry. And in the end, we are not marketing to data points. We are not marketing to AI. We are marketing to humans, and there is no one better to do that than us humans. Thank you.